Good morning, everyone. It's great to see so many of you here this morning, bright and early. I hope to enlighten you and make the next 20 minutes both compelling and insightful. I am Maria Gallipo, CEO of the Sicilian Ice Cream Group of Companies, of which the Sicilian Sidewalk Cafe is our family's cherished gelateria. I'm here to share with you my experience from soft news to hard news in a blink of an eye, and provide you with valuable tips for protecting the family business when crisis hits. In 1959, the Gallipo brothers opened Sicilian Ice Cream, a traditional Italian ice cream parlor in the heart of Little Italy. It was more than a gelateria. It was a place to connect. In those early days, the brothers worked long hours, and they established themselves as pioneers in the Italian ice cream business. Not only did they sell espresso and cappuccinos, but they made gelato just like they were accustomed back home in the old country. In no time, they ventured into specialty ice cream desserts like tartufo, cassata, spumoni. Not only did they sell their products in their cafe, but they sold them to caterers, restaurateurs, and retailers throughout the city. What began as a dream for a better life blossomed into an incredibly vibrant ice cream business with strong roots in Toronto's Little Italy, College Street neighborhood, and the greater Italian community. Over the 5 decades, Sicilians became a well-established brand. They were world famous not only for their decadent ice cream desserts, but more importantly, for the significant contributions made to the fabric of life in the Italian community. Ice cream desserts became the perfect end to the perfect meal. This cherished tradition was deeply rooted to their humble beginnings. Today, we are a Toronto landmark and Main Street business. Over the years, Sicilians was quite accustomed to being in the limelight with feel-good, soft news-type articles and live spots. They were often being featured on Festival Italiano of Johnny Lombardi, on Chin TV, CP24, Breakfast Television, Toronto Sun, Toronto Star, and Toronto Life, just to name a few. Sicilian was even featured on the Food Network with an episode on how their tartufo is made, a legacy passed on by the founders, the Gallipo brothers. Just before we celebrated our 50th anniversary on May 30th, 2009, the baton was passed to the second generation. I was appointed CEO. This transition was truly bittersweet for me. Dad finally relinquished control, not because he wanted to, just because he had to. He passed away 3 short months later. This time was definitely the most challenging period of my life. I not only lost my dad, but my business partner and my anchor. From this life-altering crisis, I learned a valuable life lesson. What hurts you today makes you stronger tomorrow. You see, when you're in a family business, the family and the business are so intertwined. And this dynamic is exponentially more complex when a significant portion of the business is made up of family members, as is the case with our business. In 2012, we employed about 40 people, of which 10 were family members. Yes, that's right, a whopping 25% of our staff is family. Yes, you can say we are a highly nepotistic company. Just to put things in perspective, our family, that is, those members that are directly affiliated to the 2 brothers in the business, represent 34 people and spans 3 generations. This makes for one hell of an interesting business family. Who needs reality TV? There is so much drama here day to day. All kidding aside, I'm here to tell you about an event that I never could have imagined happening to my family and our ice cream business. On a sunny Monday afternoon, June 18, 2012, about 3:30 p.m., a masked gunman wearing construction clothing opened fire on our crowded patio during a Euro Cup quarterfinal game between Italy and Ireland. One person was shot dead, and another individual was injured. That afternoon, I was supposed to be at the cafe, but fate would have it that a customer needed a quotation for a special event, and they wanted it immediately. So instead of going to the cafe, I went to my office in Vaughan. That simple request literally spared me an incredibly traumatic experience. When I reflect back, I vividly remember that day. It was shortly after 3:30 that afternoon when I received a call from my brother. He was always a man of few words. He simply asked, "Are you sitting down?" As you can imagine, I immediately knew something was very, very wrong. Without hesitating, he immediately blurted, "There has been a shooting in the cafe." As he uttered those words, I was totally and completely overwhelmed with a deeply intense feeling of doom. It penetrated me like a bolt of lightning flowing through my entire body. The feelings were so incredibly profound that they rattled me at the very core of my being. I felt totally and completely ill deep within. As I processed what he was saying, I was overwhelmed with so many questions. Who, what, why, when? No answers were forthcoming. Things only grew increasingly more nerve-wracking with each passing minute. Time seemed to pass so slowly. We could not communicate with one another, with anyone in the cafe, nor them with us. I was petrified, deeply and utterly concerned about the family members, staff, and customers in the cafe. I was deeply concerned about our business, our neighborhood, our livelihood, and our future. My husband immediately drove me to the cafe. Upon arriving, we were refrained from passing the yellow tape plastered in front of our establishment. It didn't matter who I was, no one was allowed in or out for hours. It wasn't until that evening that I was allowed to speak with traumatized family and staff. As I processed what had happened, I experienced a whole spectrum of emotions: anger, resentment, fear, rage. The next day, reality set in, and there was so much to deal with. Loss of life, injured party, traumatized family and staff, distraught customers, shocked and supportive BIA, caring residents, concerned citizens, sympathetic customers, compassionate suppliers, temporary business closure, extensive media coverage, damaged property, complete disarray, and reopening after 4 days with a skeleton staff. Under the intense scrutiny of extensive media attention, we were hard news, completely unrelenting news with hard news headlines. Each and every media outlet was reporting the story, and they did so over and over again. During our crisis management meeting the next day, we determined that our top 3 priorities and areas of focus were our family and staff, our reputation, our business. We immediately recognized that each of these was vitally important if we were going to get through this crisis. We focused on our strengths and acknowledged our weakness. We were fortunate because we were prepared for a crisis, not this specific crisis, but a crisis. We had a well-documented crisis plan that was adaptable to the circumstances, and we knew that I would be the spokesperson. We also had a very clear picture of who we are and what we stood for. We had just rebranded ourselves. However, we also recognized we did not have the expertise through this tragic event, so we hired a PR company to preserve and protect our reputation and mitigate our losses. We realized that we were exposed to losses because of the incident and possible damages as a result of the perceived question marks to our reputation. We were shut down for a police investigation. This caused direct losses in revenue during the shutdown period and quantifiable decrease in business when we reopened, and this continued in the short term. There were additional expenses and property damage. It was obvious the need for increased operating capital had a negative implications on our share value. If this had not been mitigated properly, the effects could have been totally devastating, the total destruction of our share value being the worst outcome. We recognized that trust is an extremely precious conviction, and we truly understood that it takes years to build that confidence and develop that faith, seconds to break and a lifetime to repair. Given the magnitude of the event, the decision was easy. We needed to hire a company to help us gravitate through the crisis. There was just too much at stake to wing it ourselves. The public relations firm was instrumental in providing clarity and direction during a very difficult time. The first order of business was the press conference, which took place in Little Italy on the afternoon of June 20th, 2012, just 2 days after the event. At that press conference, the Little Italy BIA was there to offer their support and assistance. Here is the unedited version of the video clip which aired on City News.
Thank you everyone for coming out this afternoon. Your interest and support is very important to us. My name is Maria Gallipo. I am the CEO of the Sicilian Ice Cream Company, which includes the Sicilian Sidewalk Cafe. This was the scene of a tragic crime on Monday afternoon, inflicted on a peaceful and unsuspecting family business and its patrons. On behalf of my entire family, too many to name individually, I can only express how devastated we are by this incident and extend our heartfelt sympathies to the victims and their families. And to our customers who were present Monday afternoon, we offer our deepest regrets. We hope that you can soon find peace and distance from this terrible episode. We are deeply saddened that an event like this could have happened in such a safe and family-oriented community. Working with our local Business Improvement Association, we will continue to get the message out that this incident is not a reflection of our neighborhood. As a community, I hope we can work through this and emerge more determined than ever to maintain the welcoming spirit and unique personality that represents us. We were told last evening by the police that we can have our cafe back, and we are working hard to open up again in a day or two. And as we do, we want everybody to know something. My father and his brothers opened our cafe in 1959. We have not moved in over 50 years, and we intend to remain a vital part of this neighborhood. Ours is a family business. All of us put our heart and soul into running our cafe, and it's like family for the 40 people we employ during our peak summer period. Ours is also a family business in the sense that generations come here to be together, from grandparents to tiny babies and everyone in between. So if we as a city allow some isolated act of violence to keep people away from our cafe and this unique part of Toronto, then the violence wins. But I know we're better than that. My colleagues on the BIA, so many of them present here today, also know that we're better than that. Summertime is here, the patios are open, Euro 2012 is on, and it's been difficult these past few days, but we have to get back to some sense of normal. Thank you for your support. Thank you for coming out.
This press conference proved to be very instrumental in getting our message out, that this was an isolated incident and not a reflection of our business or our neighborhood. This statement I made generated 37 articles in prime papers over the next 2 days and reached an astounding 34,262,300 impressions. In reflecting back, on what steps were taken to effectively manage our reputation, there were clearly 10 that contributed to the outcome. Each and every one of these steps were vitally important and essential in gravitating through this process and emerging empowered rather than defeated. These were effective board oversight, integration of risk into strategy and business plan, effective communication, image and brand building, strong corporate values, positive culture regarding compliance and laws and regulations, priority focus on positive interaction with key stakeholders, quality public reporting, strong control environment, company performance relative to competitors, and a world-class response to high-profile crisis. At the same time, behind the scenes, we work closely with victim services to support the family and our employees traumatized by the event. Some staff quit while others wanted to go back to work as if nothing happened. But we knew in the short term it wasn't business as usual, but we knew the business had to run. Our greatest business challenge when we reopened on June 12, 2012 was a 40% shortage in staff. In the short term, this proved to be quite challenging. Over the long term, there were a lot of ups and downs along the way. Each person needed to deal with the tragedy in their own way and at their own pace. As challenges presented themselves, we dealt with them. Probably the most remarkable aspect of all this was the strength and commitment of our employees, who persevered and worked to get through this crisis together. During the crisis, what resonated for us was all the valuable relationships that we had made over the decades. We were overwhelmed by the loyalty and confidence from our valued customers, the compassion and support we received from our suppliers, the encouragement and assistance from our local BIA and CAFE, and simple acts of kindness from local businesses in the community. The crisis was somehow made more bearable because of all the backing we received. Not all was positive, but we focused on the positive. Family, like branches on a tree, we all grow in different directions, but our strong roots keep us together. Through this crisis, our family relationships were truly tested and tried. But when all is said and done, we recognize that blood is thicker than water. And where the business is concerned, we recognize that together we can achieve so much more. If there is one fundamental element to take away from all of this, is that crisis communication is so vitally important to the preservation of the business. Being ready increases your chances at being successful. This can be achieved by anticipating the crisis, identifying the crisis communication team, selecting and training the spokesperson, establishing a notification and monitoring system, developing holding statements, assessing the situation, and finalizing and adapting the key message. In addition to a well-developed crisis communication plan, it is important to protect the business through prudent business decisions. Adequate business interruption insurance, which protects against quantifiable losses in revenue, sufficient property damage coverage, ample protection for the additional operating expenses incurred, enough WSIB that covers workplace injuries. Increase your chances at success by using great advisors. Do not hesitate to hire professionals when you lack the required skills that their expertise is invaluable. And most importantly, stay connected to whatever association you are involved with. For me, both CAFE and the BIA played significant roles in providing support during this very difficult challenge. My trusted PIG provided a safe environment for sharing and supporting me throughout this ordeal. Some useful tips for protecting the assets. Keep business assets and personal assets separate. Use holdcos to own properties. Diversify. Have adequate insurance coverage. Develop a crisis plan, and this will ensure you will have greater odds for success. No one is immune to tragedy. But a solid plan can help you not only emerge intact, but stronger and more committed to serving your community. Thank you for providing me this opportunity for sharing my story with you this morning.